The palace may have framed it like a routine update, but this was a major shift inside the monarchy. The Royal Warrant Holders Association confirmed that King Charles has appointed Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, as future grantors of royal warrants, and that short statement carried serious weight. Beginning in 2026, William and Catherine will be able to issue royal warrants of appointment. Applications for British companies are expected to open between May and June of that year, giving selected businesses the chance to receive one of the most respected commercial endorsements in the United Kingdom. This is not just ceremonial fluff. It is one of the Crown's oldest and most powerful ways of signalling trust, quality, and status. A royal warrant is granted to companies that have regularly supplied goods or services to the royal household. Once approved, those companies may display the royal arms with the words, "By appointment to," a mark that can instantly raise their prestige. For centuries, that recognition has linked the monarchy directly to British industry, from heritage fashion houses and artisan food producers to furniture makers, agricultural suppliers, and specialist craftspeople. A warrant can lift a company's profile fast, which is why the power to grant one has always been tightly controlled. That authority is not automatic. Only royals specifically approved by the reigning monarch may issue warrants. Before this decision, the recognised grantors in the modern system included King Charles III and Queen Camilla. So the inclusion of William and Catherine is not a random update. It is a deliberate expansion that pushes responsibility toward the next generation of the monarchy. But the most striking part of the announcement was Catherine. According to royal historians and widely reported commentary, she is expected to become the first Princess of Wales in around 115 years to hold the authority to grant royal warrants. The last Princess of Wales believed to have held similar influence was Princess Mary of Teck, who later became Queen Mary before George V's reign began in 1910. That gap of more than a century gives this decision real constitutional weight. For decades, the Princess of Wales has not been placed inside the warrant-granting system, not during the era of Queen Alexandra, not during Princess Diana's years, and not during the earlier years of Catherine's own public life. That is why this move feels bigger than symbolism. It places Catherine in a role that blends ceremonial importance, institutional authority, and economic influence in a way no modern Princess of Wales has experienced. Royal warrants shape more than prestige. They shape commercial credibility too. Many British businesses have built their reputations around their connection to the Crown. A single warrant can turn a respected local supplier into a nationally recognised name. That is why the authority to grant warrants is treated as an institutional responsibility, not a personal favour. And Catherine already brings another layer of influence to the table. For years, economists and retail analysts have documented what many call the Kate effect. When Catherine wears a certain dress, carries a handbag, or appears in a particular brand, those items often sell out quickly. When she visits a smaller British label, that company can suddenly receive major international attention. That influence has been visible for years, but until now it has remained informal, driven by public admiration rather than official royal authority. The warrant system changes that. For the first time, Catherine's cultural influence may directly connect with one of the monarchy's oldest endorsement mechanisms. A company recognised by the Princess of Wales would not only gain the prestige of a royal warrant, but could also benefit from the commercial boost created by her visibility. For British businesses in heritage, craft, and luxury goods, that could be huge. Still, the significance of this decision goes beyond commerce. It reaches into the structure of royal influence itself. By expanding the warrant system, King Charles is showing that William and Catherine are being prepared for deeper institutional roles long before the eventual transfer of the throne. They are not just being positioned as public representatives of the Crown. They are being trusted to shape the systems through which the monarchy connects with British society. For William, that preparation already includes the Duchy of Cornwall, military patronages, and diplomatic work. For Catherine, the authority to grant warrants adds a new form of power, the ability to formally recognise the industries and crafts tied to modern Britain. That is why palace observers see this as more than a ceremonial change. It is part of a wider transition already taking shape. There is also a quieter palace angle here. Before this announcement, Queen Camilla was already among the royals authorized to grant warrants. Now Catherine enters that same institutional space, placing two women from different generations of the monarchy within overlapping spheres of influence. Publicly, the palace stresses continuity. Privately, many see the deeper message. The monarchy is moving, carefully but clearly, toward the era of William and Catherine. That is why this decision matters so much. It did not emerge in isolation. It revives a role that had gone dormant for more than a century within the office of the Princess of Wales. It reconnects Catherine to one of the monarchy's oldest links to British business, industry, and craftsmanship. And it does so at a moment when she already holds a rare kind of public influence. Even Princess Diana, despite her global popularity and enormous impact on fashion, never held the authority to grant royal warrants. That has long highlighted the difference between public admiration and formal constitutional power. King Charles has now changed that by bringing Catherine into the royal warrant system for the first time in generations. And with that, he has done more than honour her position. He has strengthened her place inside the machinery of the monarchy itself. So the real story is not just that Catherine has been given a new title on paper. It is that the Princess of Wales has been restored to a role with history, influence, and real institutional force. More than 115 years after the last known precedent, Catherine now steps into a space that connects the crown directly to British commerce and craftsmanship. And that comes at the exact moment when she already carries a unique kind of public power, the phenomenon that economists and media analysts have long described as the Kate effect. What used to be known simply as the Kate effect is now moving into something far more official. Clothing labels, jewellery designers, and small British brands have long seen big jumps in attention after Catherine, Princess of Wales, wore or publicly supported their products. And it has never been limited to luxury fashion alone. Smaller artisan businesses, especially those producing traditional British goods, have also benefited from the sharp rise in visibility that follows her appearances. Until now, that influence has mostly stayed in the cultural lane. It came from public admiration, media attention, and Catherine's image, rather than any formal royal power. But the authority to grant royal warrants changes that. It turns an informal pattern into an institutional pathway, linking Catherine's public influence to one of the monarchy's oldest systems of official recognition. That is why the King's decision has landed so strongly inside both the palace and the business world. With one authorization, Charles has not only elevated Catherine's role, he has placed her inside a tradition that stretches back centuries. It is a tradition that ties the crown directly to the reputation of British craftsmen, manufacturers, and respected suppliers. For Catherine, that means both recognition and responsibility. For the monarchy, it signals something bigger, a revival of an older tradition now being handed to a new generation. Inside royal life, influence rarely changes through dramatic public declarations. It usually shifts through quiet adjustments in symbolism, duty, and institutional authority. The decision by King Charles III to authorize Prince William and Catherine as future grantors of royal warrants is exactly that kind of move. It may appear technical on the surface, but inside the monarchy, it carries much deeper meaning. The authority to grant royal warrants does more than recognize companies. It shows who holds influence over the Crown's relationship with British industry, heritage, and craftsmanship. Until this recent decision, that authority sat mainly with the monarch and the Queen consort. Queen Camilla became one of the recognized figures able to grant warrants after Charles took the throne, which reinforced her formal standing in the new reign. Now Catherine is entering that same space, and palace observers have quietly noted what that means. Unlike many ceremonial royal duties, the warrant system has a direct connection to commerce, prestige, heritage brands, and national reputation. A royal warrant can lift a regional business into the national spotlight. Because of that, the power to grant them has always been treated as a matter of trust, not just honour. That is why the timing matters. Over the past decade, Catherine has become one of the most recognisable faces of the modern monarchy. Her public engagements, charitable work, and appearances consistently draw national and international attention. Yet most of that influence has remained informal. The Royal Warrant Authority changes that by giving her a structured institutional role for the first time. She will now be able to formally recognise the companies and artisans whose work reflects British quality and tradition. Royal commentators widely see this as part of King Charles's broader strategy to prepare the next generation for the future leadership of the Crown. Since the start of his reign, Charles has steadily moved certain responsibilities toward William and Catherine, signalling that the future is already being organised behind palace walls. William's preparation has been visible through the Duchy of Cornwall, military patronages, and diplomatic duties abroad. Catherine's new place in the warrant system adds another layer to that preparation. It connects her directly to the businesses and industries that help define Britain's economic and cultural identity. That is why this move is being read as more than a simple administrative change. It shows the monarchy shaping the roles that will define the era of William and Catherine, and that also means the internal hierarchy is quietly being adjusted. While the monarchy is still formally led by the King and Queen, the structure beneath them is becoming more clearly oriented toward the future sovereign and his consort. The Royal Warrant Authority is no longer just a recognition of Catherine's popularity. It is becoming a mechanism through which the institution prepares her for greater responsibility. In royal history, shifts like this are rarely announced like revolutions. They arrive through technical decisions that slowly reshape the institution from within. Extending warrant authority to the Prince and Princess of Wales did not just add another ceremonial task to Catherine's growing role, it introduced a new level of institutional influence, and naturally that raised questions about the changing balance inside the monarchy. For decades, the royal warrant system has been one of the Crown's clearest links to British business and craftsmanship. Because of that, the number of people allowed to grant warrants has always remained small. When Camilla entered that system after Charles became king, it reinforced her place in the structure of the reign. Catherine's inclusion now carries similar importance, but with one major difference: she represents the future. This is the first time in more than a century that a Princess of Wales will directly take part in recognising companies serving the Crown. For many royal observers, that points to a steady redistribution of influence toward the generation that will one day inherit the throne. Catherine already holds a rare position in the royal family through her public standing, her visibility, and the well-known commercial force often called the Kate effect. Now that influence is being placed inside a formal framework. Before, Catherine's impact on British brands was mostly indirect. Now the warrant system gives her a role in an official process that carries both prestige and economic consequence. That is a major upgrade in institutional terms. And within palace discussions, some advisors reportedly view this as part of King Charles's long-term plan to strengthen the roles of William and Catherine rather than keeping all authority tightly centred on the monarch alone. The result is clear. The King's decision reflects more than reform. It reflects recognition that Catherine's role inside the monarchy has grown and will keep growing. By placing the Princess of Wales inside the royal warrant system, the Crown has effectively signalled that the next phase of royal life will be shaped not only by the future king, but also by the woman who will stand beside him. And as the expanded royal warrant system moves closer to its 2026 rollout, more attention is now turning to what Catherine's new authority could mean in practice. What makes this development hit even harder is that royal warrants have always stood for quality, trust, and long-term reliability. But now, the Princess of Wales brings something extra into the mix that few warrant holders in the modern media age have ever had. For more than a decade, Catherine's public appearances have shaped consumer behaviour across Britain and well beyond it. Retail experts, fashion commentators, and brand analysts have kept pointing to the same phenomenon, the Kate effect, that instant rush of demand that often follows whenever the Princess of Wales wears or publicly supports a particular brand. That effect has not been small, and it has not been occasional either. British fashion labels, jewellery designers, and smaller independent houses have all seen major jumps in demand after Catherine appeared in their designs during official engagements. In some cases, brands that once served a loyal but limited audience suddenly found themselves flooded with global attention within hours. A coat, a handbag, a pair of earrings, even a simple dress worn by Catherine could push a quiet British label straight into the international spotlight. That kind of visibility is serious power, and everyone watching the industry knows it. Until now, that influence has worked almost entirely through public admiration and media exposure rather than through formal royal authority. But Royal Warrant Authority changes the game completely. A warrant issued by the Princess of Wales would not just bring headlines, online chatter, or retail buzz, it would carry formal recognition from the Crown itself. That means a company would be receiving not only the glow of Catherine's public image, but also the weight of one of the monarchy's oldest and most respected systems of approval. That difference matters in a big way. Public attention can come fast and fade fast, but royal recognition carries a deeper kind of value. A warrant signals that a company has met the standards expected by the royal household in reliability, quality, and long-term service. It tells the market that this is not simply a trendy name getting lucky for a season. It is a business trusted at the highest level of royal life. For heritage industries, artisan makers, and family-run producers, that kind of recognition can be priceless. Royal warrants have long supported industries that sit right at the centre of British craftsmanship and identity. Traditional tailoring, shoemaking, agricultural supply, specialty foods, furniture workshops, luxury manufacturers, and other respected producers have all benefited from the prestige of royal endorsement over the years. Many companies have built their international reputation around that connection. In some cases, the warrant becomes one of the strongest parts of the brand's story. That is why Catherine's entry into this system is causing such strong interest among economists, analysts, and business observers. The reason is easy to see. When institutional endorsement meets cultural influence, the result can be incredibly powerful. A business receiving a warrant connected to the Princess of Wales may gain not only the prestige tied to serving the royal household, but also the worldwide attention linked to Catherine's image. That creates a rare combination: one part formal authority, one part public fascination, and both working at the same time. In today's market, that sort of mix can be a huge advantage for brands trying to stand out without losing their traditional identity. For Britain's craft and manufacturing sectors, that possibility is a major opportunity. Small workshops, heritage producers, and family-run businesses have long seen the warrant system as a route toward wider recognition. But the idea that Catherine may now help identify and elevate those companies has added even more excitement. For firms built on skill, reputation, and tradition, this is not just about landing another royal label. It is about entering a space where official palace recognition and modern public appeal suddenly collide in one very powerful way. At the same time, palace officials have made it clear that the process will remain strict and carefully controlled. This is not turning into a popularity contest, and it is not about handing out approval because Catherine wore something once. Companies seeking a warrant must show consistent service to the royal household over time, and applications are reviewed closely before any decision is made. So the Princess of Wales will not simply be rewarding personal favourites, she will be taking part in a formal system built to protect the standards, reputation, and seriousness of the Crown. Seen in the wider context of the monarchy, this responsibility says a lot about how Catherine's role has changed over the years. In her earlier days as a royal, she was often viewed mainly through her appearances, her image, and her charitable work. But that picture has shifted in a big way. The Princess of Wales is now being trusted with responsibilities that tie her directly to the monarchy's internal mechanisms rather than only its public-facing duties. Royal warrants are one of those mechanisms, and stepping into that space marks a real change in how the institution now sees her place. Through the warrant system, The crown recognizes the businesses and craftspeople who have sustained traditions that have existed alongside the monarchy for generations. These are not random names plucked from fashion pages or social media trends. They are often firms that have built trust slowly through consistency, high standards, and long service. By bringing Catherine into this process, King Charles has effectively positioned the Princess of Wales as someone who will help shape how the monarchy defines and rewards excellence in British industry. That is not a decorative task. That is real institutional influence, and that says something important about the next generation of royal leadership as well. The monarchy is quietly showing that the future will not be built only on appearances, symbolism, and public ceremony. William and Catherine are being drawn deeper into the systems through which the crown connects with national life. That includes governance, representation, charity, and now formal recognition of British enterprise. In other words, they are not just being prepared to stand for the institution, they are being prepared to help shape how it functions in practice. By the time the expanded royal warrant system becomes operational in May and June of 2026, the meaning of King Charles III's decision will likely stretch far beyond the technical process of how businesses apply. In the long institutional memory of the monarchy, there are moments that look modest on the surface, but later turn out to be major turning points. Catherine's inclusion as a grantor of royal warrants is already being seen by many as one of those moments. It may sound administrative at first, but beneath that calm language sits a much bigger strategy about the crown's future. The system itself will still work much as it has for generations. Companies that have supplied goods or services to the royal household over a sustained period may apply for recognition, and those approved may display the royal arms as proof of their appointment. But when that familiar process is placed inside the wider royal picture, a deeper strategy starts to emerge. The early years of Charles's reign have not been only about preserving tradition. They have also been about preparing the monarchy for long-term continuity, and that preparation is increasingly centered on William and Catherine. Prince William already holds responsibilities that place him close to the operational core of the monarchy. Through the Duchy of Cornwall, he oversees one of the largest private estates in Britain. Through military patronages and diplomatic duties, he represents the crown at home and abroad. Catherine's entry into the warrant system now completes a broader pattern. Together, the Prince and Princess of Wales are being positioned inside several of the monarchy's most important structures: governance, representation, public service, and recognition of national industry. That is not accidental. That is careful planning. For Catherine, this role also carries deep historical symbolism. The last Princess of Wales commonly associated with similar authority was Princess Mary of Teck before her husband became King George V in 1910. More than a century later, Catherine becomes the first Princess of Wales to step back into that tradition. That gap gives the decision real historical force. It restores the Princess of Wales to a role that reconnects the crown with Britain's craft traditions and economic identity, a connection that has always mattered, even when it was not always loudly discussed. For historians of the institution, this development also shows how the monarchy adapts from one generation to the next. In earlier times, royal influence over commerce came through patronage, court appointments, and close household ties. In the modern era, the royal warrant system remains one of the few formal ways the crown can still recognise excellence in British enterprise. By allowing Catherine to take part in that process, King Charles acknowledges both the evolving role of the Princess of Wales and the rising expectations placed on the next generation of royal leadership. The move also reflects a bigger understanding inside palace walls. The crown's future strength depends not only on history and tradition, but on whether the people who will one day lead it are seen as credible, disciplined, and capable of carrying genuine responsibility. Catherine's public profile has grown steadily through her work in early childhood development, mental health awareness, and community support. She has built a reputation for steadiness, poise, and broad public appeal. That reputation now gives even more weight to her entry into the warrant system because it links public trust with institutional authority in a very direct way. With the authority to grant royal warrants, Catherine's influence now becomes connected to one of the monarchy's oldest formal traditions. The Princess of Wales will help shape which companies are recognised as suppliers to the royal household, and by extension, which businesses become linked to the standards and image of the crown. For Britain's artisans, heritage makers and manufacturers, that means enormous prestige. It can strengthen brands, boost reputation, and push businesses into a level of recognition that few endorsements can match. And for the monarchy, it means something just as important: continuity. Throughout its history, the British crown has lasted by preparing each generation for responsibility long before the actual moment of succession arrives. That is one of the quiet secrets behind its survival. The institution rarely waits for the future to appear on its own. It starts shaping that future in advance, role by role, duty by duty, and decision by decision. That is exactly what this move reflects. By bringing Catherine into the royal warrant system, the monarchy is showing that it is already building the framework of the next chapter, rather than merely talking about it. And that is why this decision feels bigger than it first appears. It is not just about suppliers, labels, or palace procedure. It is about Catherine stepping into a role that combines public appeal with formal institutional power. It is about the crown reconnecting the Princess of Wales to a tradition that has been dormant for more than a century. And it is about the monarchy sending a calm but unmistakable message that the next chapter of royal life will be shaped not only by the future king, but also by the Princess of Wales standing beside him. If you enjoyed this piece, drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me whether you think Catherine's new authority is a smart royal move or a major turning point for the monarchy. And do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story is still unfolding, and the next royal twist could land at any moment.